Actions speak louder than words, and this is exactly why I'm voting this November. I'm stepping up to be heard, and you should as well.
I'm voting this year just like I vote every year because I think my vote matters. I think my voice needs to be heard, and I want the folks who govern us to know what I think is important.
Voting is so important. It's one of the ways we leave our mark on the world. This year, I can think of 45 good reasons to vote. Among them, freedom of expression, freedom of speech, and freedom of the press. Let's do this. Let's vote.
I vote to do my part to support our democracy. When everybody votes, that's when democracy works.
I vote to honor the generations of women who fought so long and hard for my right to vote. I vote because I know that one vote can make a difference, and that my vote is my voice.
I only missed 2 years that I didn't vote, and that's when I was in the Army, was overseas. I encourage everyone to do your civic duty, get out, and vote.
I vote for those who came before me and fought for me to have that right. And I vote for those who will come after me that have to live with the consequences of the decisions we do or do not make.
I'm voting in part for the next generation. She's right behind me, isn't she?
I'm voting this election because I believe that this is the most important election, not only in my lifetime, but since the moment we became a country 244 years ago. This is possibly the only election where our security, integrity, and our standing in the world is in imminent danger, and we are faced with a viable threat from within. That's why I'm voting this election.
You want to know why I vote? I vote because I have a daughter who is a woman of color, and she believes that right now in the United States, it is not a safe place for a black person to live. And I find that absolutely unacceptable. And that's why I vote.
I never miss an opportunity to vote. It's the least I can do to walk into a polling location and fill in the oval for the candidate I think best deserves to hold a public office. It's the least that I can do for every soldier who fought and died for my right to do so. It's the least I can do for every citizen of Earth who lives in a country where they're not afforded that right.
2 days after the 26th Amendment giving 18-year-olds the right to vote was proposed to Congress, I turned 18. We fought for that right to join all the others who fought for that right before us and who fight for that right today. Please vote.
Why should we vote? How about if we don't vote this time, there may not be a next time.
In 1968, I was on leave from the Army just prior to shipping out for Vietnam. I was at home in my parents' living room watching the election returns for that year's presidential election. I was 19 years old and so not eligible to vote because the voting age at that time was 21. I couldn't vote for whoever it was that was sending me off to war. I have made it a point to vote in every election ever since. Haven't missed one.
I'm voting because a well-functioning society requires civic responsibility. I'm also voting because this may be our last shot.
I'm voting this year because I'm an educator. As an educator, I have a lot of goals for the students that walk through my classroom doors every single day. Some of those goals have to do with being respectful and accepting people that are different than us, being responsible, and also leading by a good example. I'm looking for a leader who has those same qualities, being respectful, being responsible, and leading by a good example. That's why I'm voting this year, and I want to make sure my voice is heard.
The reason I'm voting this November is because I believe it's part of my civic duty that everyone has. I've been voting in every election since 1968 and believe it is important to do so.
I vote because it is my right as a U.S. citizen to have my voice heard, and I know my vote will make a difference.
Voting matters because so many people in the history of this country fought for my right to vote, and I decided to make this video with rain in the background because since 2016, I've been raining tears. So I am voting this year because I am saving democracy.
I'm voting because we have to end this administration's rampage through the environmental rules and regulations that have protected us for decades. And because I always vote.
I want to vote out the corruption that is eroding our democracy.
There are many people still in this country who have to fight for it. And for me to not vote seems to be betraying that.
I'm voting because this country needs environmental and health policy based on science. A justice system that treats every person equally with respect and dignity. We need to again be a place where people seeking refuge can live safely and have a path toward citizenship. We need to reclaim our democracy for all.
And I vote because it's my birthright to vote. I also vote because it's important to vote. Why is it important that we vote? It's important because the system doesn't work if most of us don't vote. So please vote.
I'm voting because I'm an American, and I love my country.
I'm voting because there's so much at stake, from women's rights in the Supreme Court to the environment and education. But the most important reason I'm voting this year is because our democracy is at stake. For the first time in my life, the administration in Washington, D.C. is trying to convince us that we should be scared of each other and scared of voting. They're trying to convince us that it's not going to be fair. But the thing is they're afraid to lose. And it's important that our voices are heard, our voices are loud, our votes are counted, and we replace them.
It's how we exercise our democracy. It's how we demonstrate our democracy. We have a precious freedom in America to topple leaders we disapprove of without firing a single shot if we all just show up and vote.